Hey, everybody, and welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. This is Katie Weaver, and I'm here with my co anchor and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
So good. Just so good. We got to go walking again today in the
Yeah.
sunshine. It was so great. I love it. And I
Yes.
got these awesome new shoes. So I kind of like Crocs, but I haven't been wearing any. And Skechers is now making something they call foamies
Uh huh.
that are sort of their version of Crocs. And I got a pair.
Mm hmm.
I love them. They are my new favorite shoes.
Love
And we
them.
wore them on our walk today, and they were really nice. They have a nice little arch support because I have super flat feet.
Mm hmm.
And they were just really, really nice and comfy. And I was like, dude, I'm going to walk all summer. Just excited.
Awesome. I know.
Yeah.
It is so nice to see the weather improve. And
Oh my
we,
gosh.
we ran an errand and then drove around for like an hour. Scott said, "You just don't want to go home." And I said, "I really don't. It's just too sunny and nice outside." And
I know. It's
yeah.
so good to be out. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yay. Finally out of the gray of winter. And
Yeah. We'll definitely get pummeled by a snowstorm here soon and be mad, but
oh, fuck yeah, we will.
that's Idaho
That
spring.
that is Idaho. I mean, it could happen in May. It could even happen in June.
It
So,
happened in June.
oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Once
I had
happened on the 4th of July.
hmm well, when I was 17, I had to have surgery on my stomach.
Oh,
And that
yes.
morning, I didn't have surgery till afternoon. And you have to fast, and I was nervous, so I went to softball practice because I didn't want to just stay home and, be scared and weirded out. So it was a beautiful day. Went to softball practice. It was gorgeous. It was June 7th, I think. Lovely summer day.
Yeah.
Went to the hospital, had surgery, came out of surgery and out of recovery and into my room at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I look out the window and it is absolutely bellowing snow outside. And I had this, I was 17, right? So I have this like
Yeah.
flash moment and I went, how long have I been asleep?
Right?
My mom's like, I don't know, about 3 hours. And I was like, what? It's snowing out there. And it was. We just had a freak storm and then it was fine again. But yeah,
Yeah. Sounds
you
about
can't
right.
ever trust shit around here.
No, you cannot.
Crazy. Well, speaking of, things you can't trust, let's talk about our case.
Well, let's do. That is I love the segue. That was excellent.
That was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going to open an investigation because we want to continue to keep an eye on this case and keep you guys updated. We are talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine, Ghislaine, everybody sees it and says it differently.
Ghislaine.
We are going to pronounce it Ghislaine.
Mhm.
You probably know who we're talking about. She is the person who was the friend and, potential co-part. What do you say? Co-part? That's not the right word.
No.
Give it to me.
Co-defendant.
There you go. I'll take that. I don't know. I don't know what I wanted to call her. Anyway, yes, co-defendant of Jeffrey Epstein. They had dated
Mhm.
in the 90s, and then she continued to be what some of the girls that have accused her of being as his madam
Yes.
in assisting with the child sex abuse and sex trafficking that was happening with Epstein. And Epstein, of course, was a convicted sex offender. He
Mhm.
was in jail in New York City and, killed himself here
Yeah.
last summer
In
and
2019.
in 2019. And,
Yeah.
everybody has an opinion about whether Epstein killed himself or he didn't. That's why I used quotes because, everyone has an opinion about what
Right.
actually happened to Epstein. And maybe we'll
Right.
read that one day when people around this case aren't quite so litigious. But anyway,
Yeah. We must
so
remind you that Ms. Maxwell is innocent until proven guilty.
mhm. Yep. So what we are presenting to you are the things that she is currently in court for, things she's been accused of. So we thought we'd just start at the beginning. She's actually a Christmas Day baby.
Yes.
She's born on Christmas Day. She is the youngest of 9 children, born, of course,
Mhm.
to the Maxwells. And she was raised in an unbelievable amount of luxury and privilege. Her childhood home had 25 bedrooms. Yeah. She pretty much had it made, right? She helped with her dad's business. She went to Oxford. She really had it all. And she was
Yeah.
quite the socialite, friends with a lot of famous people, royalty. She really had it all going for her in a lot of ways. Her father, if you can trust the articles that have been written, she was really kind of his favorite, his little sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
And he even had named his boat, his yacht, after her.
Mm-hmm.
And she, at some point, he purchased a business in New York, and he sent her to New York to be an emissary for him here. He purchased, let's see, was it New York Magazine?
Mm-hmm.
I
I
can't
don't know.
remember. He purchased some, anyway, some press,
Mm-hmm.
and she came to the U.S. to run that for him. And in the meantime, he took his yacht out by himself and disappeared into the ocean, where his body was later found.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting time because right after that happened, the news broke that he had been basically skimming off the top. He had stolen an enormous amount of money, many millions of pounds of money from his employees, from their pension funds, to keep his businesses afloat.
Yeah.
So a lot of people speculate that that was suicide, but there's no actual, we don't know that for sure, but that's what's been speculated. She was known in
Mm-hmm.
the press saying that she thought he was murdered.
Right.
We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's no hard and fast
Well,
proof.
and there was some question that she was sent to the U.S. right before that happened to prevent her from being arrested.
Yes. Well, yeah, because
Because
two
two
of
of
her
her
brothers
brothers.
were arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. They were both acquitted, however, but
Mm-hmm.
between what was left of that business and the British government, they were all on the hook for that money, and there wasn't
Right.
much left by the time it was over.
Yeah.
So it seems like Daddy's estate went by and large to pay back all of his debt, of
Yeah.
which was vast. She also had, just a few days after she was born, she had an older brother in a car accident that
Oh,
was in a
yes.
long-term coma that eventually died. So her
Mm-hmm.
family had quite a bit of tragedy, along with, enormous wealth and gain. It certainly wasn't all butterflies and roses.
True.
But in the mid 90s, she started running around with a guy named Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep.
I think you all have heard that name a few million times.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting thing because accounts kind of differ on when they met, but it looks like they met in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
And they did have a romantic relationship for a few years. That ended, but she still was very closely associated with him for decades.
Right. Right.
And
He
was more
referred to
of,
her as his best friend a lot.
yes. Mm-hmm. But it seemed as though she was more of maybe a best friend, but also kind of a personal assistant.
Mm-hmm. Kind of his spokeswoman in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he provided for her.
Yeah.
He was also fabulously rich, and he provided for her. He purchased her a townhome in New York City. He paid for her life, and she was his sidekick.
Yeah.
So at some point, she basically was in charge of hiring and firing, supervising staff, taking care of some business affairs. His staff knew her as the lady of the house that they had to answer to. She was also known as his aggressive assistant.
Yes.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was at this time, I mean, as we know, they were friends with Donald and Melania Trump. They were friends with Bill Clinton. They were friends with Alan Dershowitz. They were friends
Mm-hmm.
with Prince Andrew. and lots of other big names that did take trips with them and run
Right.
around with them, which, as you all know, created a lot of confusion about who were the pedophiles and who weren't. I mean, obviously, not everyone who knew the Epsteins was out at, their little rapey island with 14-year-olds, but some people were.
Right. Right. And that's still a question that we don't know the answer to,
Mhm.
thanks to Epstein's death.
Yes. Yep. So many girls now have come forward accusing Epstein of sexual abuse. I mean, he was convicted. He was a convicted sex offender when he died. But many of them have also accused her of being the one who brought them in, of being the one who groomed them, of being the one who worked things out with their parents, of, being the madam. And that's
Threatened
why,
them if they
yeah.
were to tell anyone or not fall in
Mhm.
line.
Yeah. And so that's why that's why you know her name,
Yeah.
is because of this. So she's currently in jail awaiting trial in the summer. She was arrested last summer, but let's talk about some of the court cases that she's currently involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So, notwithstanding the things that she's in jail for, we'll start here.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, she is involved in a civil case with Virginia
Giffrey.
Every time I want to say Guilfoyle. Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre had accused Maxwell of a lot of the things we're discussing here. And Maxwell's response to that has triggered a huge suit with her for defamation because of the things that Maxwell said in response. They met at Mar-a-Lago. She was a
Yes.
minor working at Mar-a-Lago, and Maxwell brought her into Epstein's organization.
She wanted to be a massage therapist, and she was
Yes.
working as like the locker attendant at Mar-a-Lago.
Mhm.
And she lived with Epstein for years.
Yep.
And they had originally promised her that they would send her to massage school so that she could be his official masseuse.
Mhm.
But really, what they did is she was trafficked.
Yep.
To him and many others. She has
Yes.
accused many other very famous people.
Yep. Yep, including some of the royalty.
Yeah, Prince Andrew and Alan Dershowitz. She has
Yep.
accused both of them.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. So this is a big one. Virginia has been unflappingly brave in the face of these
Oh my
people,
gosh.
who have everything and this girl has nothing, and she has just continued to speak up and use her voice and stand up for all of the others, which is pretty amazing. So that's one of the cases she's currently involved in. Another is Sarah Ransom versus Epstein and Maxwell. She was suing both of them and now suing Maxwell because, again, Maxwell hired her to give massages to Epstein and later threatened her physical harm or to destroy her career prospects if she didn't comply with sexual demands at his mansion in New York and on his private island in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So that was actually settled in 2018. There is an affidavit that was filed by Maria Farmer in 2019. Maria Farmer also has gone public. She filed a sworn affidavit in New York court alleging that she and her 15-year-old sister Annie had been sexually assaulted by Epstein and Maxwell in separate locations in 1996. So her affidavit was filed in support of the defamation suit of Virginia's
She
against
was
Alan Dershowitz.
Yes, yeah. She was an artist and she was in art school. And at the end of the year, they had this art show.
Yeah.
And she was there, and Epstein and Maxwell came. They bought her art.
Mm-hmm.
She was introduced by the woman that was running the art show and got her all hooked up like they were going to be great for her and help her.
Yeah.
And so they were sort of helping her and asked if she had any siblings and got her little sister involved. And then she finds out later they sexually assaulted her little sister. It was awful. She was just heartbroken.
Well, they flew the little sister to New Mexico to another property and molested her on a massage table. Yeah. Yep. So, moving on, Jennifer Eros.
That's one I think is important to remember, is that she's not just accused of trafficking. She is also, there are accusers of her actually participating in sexual assault, not just not
just facilitating it. Yeah.
But actually participating.
Taking an active role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Ugh.
Right.
Then there is Jennifer Eros versus Epstein's estate, Maxwell and Jane Doe's 1 through 3. She, in 2019, filed a lawsuit in New York County Supreme Court against all of those people I listed, unnamed members of Epstein's staff. And the lawsuit was made, so this was made possible under the new Child Victims Act in New York. So that took effect the same date that she filed, actually. They were ready. They amended their complaint in October of the same year that names the previously unidentified women enablers to include Leslie Groff, Kimberly Espinosa, and the late Rosalind Fontilla. Because, see, it wasn't just Maxwell. I mean, Maxwell was definitely, the aggressive assistant, the kingpin.
Right.
Or the BFF to the kingpin. But there were other staff members that were also involved in looking the other way and facilitating the same kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were literally, let me show this. This ad was in Yoga Journal in the 90s. And it says, wanted Iyengar yoga instructor, full-time position offered in New York to teach a private individual. The job includes fantastic perks such as extensive travel. Call Miss Maxwell at, and it gives a phone number that rings to Jeffrey Epstein's office. And they were known for putting out ads like this, or putting out the word that he was a scout for Victoria's Secret to suck girls in, to get girls involved.
Yeah.
Because they thought they were going to benefit in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. So then they would find themselves in the face of major abuse. Some of them that were in it for years, being trafficked for years before they managed to get away from this. Yeah. And there's probably so much more than we'll ever know.
Oh, yeah. Well, so we're talking 14, 15-year-old girls. I mean, that was the whole point, is that they would get, and what they always wanted to do, what Maxwell would do was say, okay, bring your friends, and you'll each make $200 for giving him a massage.
Yeah.
Well, the massage was not a massage.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, what in the first place? What?
Yeah.
What teenager should be giving a man a massage? I mean,
none.
The hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were really good at targeting kids who had poor home lives, who were really at risk and not safe, and didn't have people watching out for them and parents watching out, or that were in such bad situations that they were desperate for some adults to sort of take them on.
Yep.
And so that's where these kids, I mean, that's what happened with Virginia.
Yeah.
She was like, well, I don't have anything better. I have no better prospect than this. And that's what, and once you're in, they're in control of everything about your life. How do you get out? This is what sex trafficking looks like. Don't you think that's an important point to make? Is Absolutely. That this is really what sex trafficking looks like. I mean, we know that there are girls stolen and taken to other countries and various things like that. Sure, we know about that kind of sex trafficking. But this is the kind of sex trafficking that we may not be aware of.
Right.
That's happening right under people's noses.
Right.
I mean, this was happening in New York forever.
Yeah. We reported on not this case, but some other cases here a couple of months ago, several
Yeah.
other situations where, mostly parents were trafficking their children,
Yeah.
but this is what it looks like. These are girls that maybe do come home for this, winter months and go to school and then are gone all summer long. Or, disappear for a month here and there as they are called to be somewhere
Mhm.
and are not in control of their
No.
lives and not in control of their financial lives and can't say no. But yeah, this is what trafficking looks like. And I
Yeah.
know for many of us it's shocking and it's hard to imagine because of our own upbringings.
Right.
But I think you have to really put yourself in someone else's shoes to understand how this is happening. But
Yeah.
also these girls who were hungry, right? They were hungry to be a Victoria's Secret model or to
Mhm.
be a massage therapist. That's so sad to me
Yeah.
because massage therapy school is less than $10,000, you
Right.
know? I mean, well, depending on where you go, of course, but I mean, massage therapy school is typically a 1 or a 2-year program. It isn't that expensive, but
Right.
she needed what they were offering her, and that just makes my
Mhm.
heart hurt, you know?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that happened here, and of course this is all innocent until proven guilty, but these are the things that are being alleged, is that Ghislaine would get a girl who would then recruit all the other girls. And
Yes.
so they had these young women, 15, 16-year-old girls,
Mhm.
pulling girls in, getting
Yes.
girls involved. And so they're out there finding other girls
Mhm.
that are vulnerable, that need help. And
Mhm.
then the girl that's recruiting them is being paid
Yeah.
to recruit other girls into the program.
Yeah.
And then their friends are being paid to recruit. And
Yeah.
so some of the police officers in New York they have this big, it looked like sort of like a genealogical tree, but it was all post-it notes because they
Yeah.
were trying to figure out who recruited who recruited who recruited who to
Yeah.
try to get the names of how many actual victims there were when
Mhm.
this was going on in New York.
Yeah.
And it's crazy scary how many
Yeah.
there were.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, and how easily they normalized it.
They did.
How easily it was normalized that, well, it's okay. I mean, they're famous, they're rich, they're this, they're that, they're giving me this. This shit got normalized in a really scary way that
It did.
so many and I think we'll never ever have a complete or even close to a complete picture of all of the victims because many of
No,
them are never going to say anything. And
no,
that's
because the
really
ones who
sad.
have been through hell.
Oh my god. Yep, they've been
Yeah.
attacked right and left. Yeah.
Yeah. And sued and threatened and
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So on that front, we have Priscilla Doe, who
Mhm.
is suing Epstein's estate. That happened in 2019. This also has to do with what happened to her. She said in 2016 or 2006, she was recruited and trained by Maxwell with step by step instructions on how to provide sexual services for Epstein.
Yeah.
Annie Farmer, also 2019. We heard about her sister already. Uh,
Mhm.
we know they have accused them of rape, battery, false imprisonment, and they are seeking damages. Jane Doe, an unnamed victim at this point, versus Maxwell and Epstein's estate in 2020. This is
Mhm.
a 13-year-old music student that they recruited at the Interlochen Center for Arts in 94 that they subjected to sexual abuse. This Jane Doe says she was repeatedly sexually assaulted by Epstein over a 4-year period and that Maxwell played a key role in her recruitment and by participating in the assaults as well. So yet
Yeah.
again, yep.
Yeah.
But again, this child was from a fatherless family, very poverty-stricken family, and a lot the same as the other victims, right?
Mhm. They knew how to look for vulnerable
Mhm,
girls. And several of the
mhm,
the victims who are adults now have
mhm.
talked about that, you're in a room alone with a man And you don't know if you don't do what he says, is he going to kill you?
Right.
Like, what are you, you're a child. You don't
Mhm.
know how to react to this situation or what to do with it. So you just do what he says in
Mhm.
order to try to save your own life. And
Right.
I think that's the thing that we have to remember is that these were children.
Mhm.
14, 15-year-old girls are not adults. They are
No.
children.
Well, and in many cases, their families were given money as well and assistance
Yes.
and things. And
There are many, many cases that have been settled
oh, yeah,
financially.
many. Yeah. So the last legal action was a little different. This is Maxwell versus Epstein's estate. So in March of 2020, so just about a year ago, Maxwell filed suit against Epstein's estate to cover her legal costs. So all of these things she's being sued for now, she thinks Epstein's estate should pay for because she was an employee for him and she managed his property holdings, and now she's being sued because of his poor behavior and her, that's her defense. And so she wants damages for her legal fees defending herself against all of her accusers because she says
Hmm.
that Epstein said that he would cover those expenses before he died. So she wants those paid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that not just make her even more culpable?
Right? Right?
Like, hey,
That's so
it's your
rich, I
fault I
can't
did all
even.
this for you.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
And let's be clear, she's married to a very wealthy man.
she is.
So if that
She
surprises
is.
you, I was surprised too.
Hmm.
But
Hmm. Well, and she was hiding and on the run for quite a while. They've
oh
been
yeah.
looking for her since they arrested Epstein. They were also
Mhm.
trying to arrest her. She's been
Yep.
hiding and hiding from subpoenas, and her attorneys were saying they didn't even know where she was
Yep.
until they
Yep.
finally arrested her.
It was about 6 months. It was on
Yeah.
December 27th, 2019 that it was first reported that she was under FBI investigation for
Hmm.
facilitating Epstein, and she wasn't arrested until July 2020.
Right.
In fact,
Right.
there was a lot of people thought that she'd left the country.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at one point it seemed like maybe she had,
Mhm.
and then came back.
Mhm.
I don't know. But she's been charged with enticement of minors, sex trafficking of children, and perjury. I mean, these aren't minor charges. These are serious felonies.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the charges are huge. So, they have tried 3 times now to get her released on bond
I think this is pretty funny, I gotta say.
because it's just not fair, right?
Right.
She is
I'm,
living in abhorrent conditions.
yes, I am a rich socialite who does not deserve to be in jail for all of the terrible things I have done. The
Right?
the bitching, it's all very Lori Vallow-esque, frankly.
Mhm.
All the
Oh,
bitching about it.
yeah. So, first, they wanted the judge to release her on a $5 million bond with now remember, Lori Vallow's on a $1 million bond. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah.
$5 million bond with monitored home confinement. And of course, the judge said no, she is an enormous flight risk. We are not letting
Right.
her go.
Right.
So then they came back to court and said, what if, listen to this, try this one on.
Yeah.
What if you let her out, but her house is under 24-hour gunpoint guards to make sure she doesn't escape? That's what
Seriously.
jail is.
Yeah, you're already there, dude. It's in jail. Yeah.
And again, the judge said pass. So
Mhm.
they've just been back to court again, saying that if they'd let her out on judge, she would, or on bail, she would gladly relinquish her citizenship to France and to the UK or to England.
Yeah.
She'd gladly do that. And they're all like, bro, we don't want you, you know.
Mm-mm.
And the judge is
But
still
see,
like,
France doesn't extradite. That's
no,
one of the reasons they won't let her go, is because
right,
France won't extradite their own citizens.
right,
But
right.
still, her resources, she could disappear to anywhere on the planet. I mean, get
Absolutely.
real.
Absolutely.
She is a helicopter pilot herself.
Hmm. Yeah.
There are so
So,
many reasons why they should not let her go,
so many reasons. Yeah. It's just laughable that they keep coming back for court and they're like, so we have this new idea, Judge. You're going to love it.
Well, and they kept offering more money. I guess at one
Yeah.
point they offered 22 million. Her husband did
Yeah.
$22 million for bail. And I was like, they keep offering more than what the courts have said. It's crazy. It's crazy.
She must be pitching quite the fits to, her family and to her attorneys because they are desperate to do anything to get her out of there. But
Right?
basically, the judge is like, it's just not going to happen. She is
Yeah.
just too much of a risk. But, she was arrested in July of 2020, and she's not doing court until July 2021. So
Yeah.
she will be in jail a full year before this gets to the courts. And even then, as we know with so many other proceedings, it could take a long time.
It could.
So, and then if she's convicted, she's not going
Then she's
anywhere
going to
for a
be
good long
real
time.
pissed. Right. Right. Because it's about 35 years in prison, what she's charged with. She could serve
Something
35
around
years.
there.
And
It
she's
could
in
be
her
the rest of her
50s.
life.
So it's life, really.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
I've said this before, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yep.
I mean, come on. But Epstein really thought that he had completely gotten away with what he'd done.
Yeah.
Because the gravity of the information that he knew had protected him for a really long time, even through the FBI, federal charges. He'd gotten away with all kinds of stuff until finally it went before a judge that determined that the feds had actually colluded with him on his crimes. And they ordered they ordered an arrest warrant of him and a search warrant of his house in New York City, and he had no idea they were still investigating him.
Yep.
And they found so much stuff on him. It was thousands of photos of underage girl, everything, because he hadn't destroyed anything, because he thought he'd gotten away with it, and so did she.
Oh yeah.
They both really thought they had just, punked the system.
They seemed to really, really believe that they were far above the law.
Yeah.
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 So,
and it's a big shocker, I think, to her at this point. Her brother wrote a letter. About how she's living in deplorable conditions because, she's in a single cell room with a toilet and a concrete bed or something like that. Well, that's jail, dude.
That's kind of what jail looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You traffic little girls, this is what happens to you.
Right. The brother's letter would be laughable if it wasn't so damn disgusting.
Yeah.
Entitled.
Considering what she is charged with, you're like, seriously, man. She could be sleeping on a dirt floor and I wouldn't care. Come on.
Well, and he's doing the whole, everyone should remember that she is innocent until proven guilty. That's true. But that doesn't mean she is devoid of consequences. No. That also doesn't mean that she has to be released. I mean, if you are found to be a flight risk, and I think any fool would see her as a flight risk, the judge doesn't have to do anything.
She hid from the cops for months.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but there are thousands of pictures with her and Jeffrey Epstein and underage girls. It's not as though there isn't already out there in the ethers a shit ton of evidence against her, because there is.
Yep.
I mean, get real.
And all of these girls, that have finally started surfacing over the last few years.
Well, and every single one of them implicates her. Every one of them.
Every one of them.
They all know exactly who she is. They all tell the same story about how she got them involved. She's the one that threatened them. She's the one that told them what to do. She's the one that kept them in line.
She's the one that worked with their families. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So that's where it sits right now.
Yeah.
In this case, frequently something hits the news about it because there are so many moving parts, because she's being sued by so many people. And, she's
Yeah.
suing and she's in jail. And, there's a lot of legal
And yeah,
proceedings
and facing
happening.
charges and all of, yeah,
Yeah. So we'll continue to track those, of course, and keep you guys abreast of those. But this case is important to know.
it
It's
is.
important to understand what really this is about, because the death of Epstein did not signal the end of this nightmare at all.
Certainly didn't
And the
give justice
victims,
to all of these girls.
exactly, the victims deserve justice, that this will never be over for them.
No.
And it's time to also start shining a light on the collusion. And we really hope that through the process of her, weaving through the court system here, that that's exactly what will happen.
Yeah.
That anyone who was involved, the hard part is that, when this all first broke with Epstein, people went crazy with it and started implicating anyone who'd ever looked at Epstein sideways, that they too had been out to Rapey Island, and
Right.
that's the really hard part. And there's also plenty of people who did visit his island that weren't pedophiles, that did nothing,
Right.
And so we have to be careful about just making blanket assumptions, because
Mhm.
this is not a cut and dried black and white case in any way,
No.
but we definitely want to see real justice and real truth come out. And so we're
Mhm.
holding space for that.
Well, and any of the people that did participate in this should go down.
Yep. Yep.
It doesn't mean everyone that was ever seen with them was involved, but
Mhm.
those who were, see ya.
Yeah.
Let's get them out of politics. Let's get them out of Hollywood. We do not need this kind of crap in our society.
No.
And
Nope.
Epstein killing himself, the only other person that knows the truth of this situation, 100% of it, is Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right.
And I really hope that she survives to trial. Just be perfectly honest. I hope she survives to trial.
Yep. Well, it's one of the biggest reasons not to let her out, actually, because they're not
It
just
certainly is.
protecting the world from her, which is what jail is supposed to do, but it's also protecting her from the world,
Definitely.
because truth needs to be told.
She literally knows where the bodies are buried, She
Yep.
knows the truth of this situation just as well as Epstein did, or probably even more so.
Mhm.
And, if at least she will take a few people down with her that we definitely do not need in our society.
Yep.
That can't
Yep.
be a bad
Without
thing.
a doubt. Yep. There's no free passes now. I don't care
No.
who you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter now. It all needs to hit the table.
It does.
And honestly, it does, because it needs to scare the shit out of anybody else that is in a place of position or power or money, who thinks that they're going to get away with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Societally, we have to stop this shit immediately.
Mhm.
We have to take action.
Yep.
And we need help
Well,
from people like Ghislaine Maxwell, unfortunately, because I
Yep.
wouldn't consider her to be a super helpful person, but
Right.
she certainly knows a lot.
Well, they have accused Gen Z and the millennials of being chain breakers, of being pattern breakers, and
Mhm.
this is it.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing we're talking about right here.
Right. We have to break this pattern.
Yep. Well, that's it. So we'll just keep you guys posted, whatever comes from all of this.
Yep.
I'm going to say this, from reputable sources, because there's been a
Yes.
lot that has come out on these cases. There's even been false flight logs released. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff come out that wasn't
Yeah.
reputable. We will do our best to wade through and only bring you true, reputable, accurate stuff.
Provable things. Yeah.
Provable stuff. I'm going to really, really challenge you guys to do the same.
Mhm.
When we do a case, our policy is investigation of threes, that you read at least 3 articles, you look at least 3 different points of view, or, find 3 different reputable sources for the information that you're seeking. And when you're looking at a case
that all line up, like you got to
Yeah.
have 3 sources that all give the same information.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. And with this case, I highly recommend that you seek those things out to be sure that what you are really consuming is real. because unfortunately it hasn't all been real. And that's not helpful.
Definitely.
That's insane, actually.
No.
But more than that, it's not helpful. We need truth. We need the right people to be held accountable. And just throwing random names out there, accusing everybody under the sun, that's not helpful.
No.
That actually ends up letting the bad guys off.
Yeah.
Because it is counterproductive. So anyway, research well. Be sure when you're forming your opinions on this case. You know, we're interested in yours, but we're not interested in, you know, a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. All righty. Well, this is our third case this week. We have already had some great stuff come out. We did a great MMIW investigation of some of the laws that are currently on the books here in the US that are making it hard to identify and prosecute missing and murdered Indigenous women with their cases. We also yesterday took a look at Israel Keys. That's been very popular with you guys. Really big case.
Yeah.
And then Ghislaine today. So lots of good stuff.
Ghislaine.
Of course,
You just want to say Ghislaine so bad.
Ghislaine. I just want to say it. I'm going to say it.
That's the way you say it in Idaho.
Yeah, Ghislaine.
Ghislaine. That's the Idaho version.
That's Idaho version.
Definitely.
Yep. Yep. So that's So we've still got 2 live streams this week. If you're listening to this live or current, I hate to say this because this isn't always the case, but if you're listening on the 17th of March,
there you go.
The live stream is going to be an hour late tonight. My daughter has a double header, softball. Kristi and I are both going. So we won't be coming to you until 8 p.m. Mountain Time this evening. Yes. Typically, that live stream is at 7. Hopefully, we'll get back to 7 next week. It's softball season, man. We got to be flexible.
Hard to know.
Yeah. We're wearing lots of hats. So that'll be tonight. The psychic hour tomorrow night, though, Thursday night, will be at 7 Mountain per normal. Yep. So that's what we've got. So as always, like, share, comment. Do the stuff. And come visit us over at truecrimeparanormal.com podcast, truecrimeparanormalpodcast.com, and suggest a case. You have been listening. Yeah. You've been listening to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Take care.
Bye, guys.